Joanna and Kathy Talk Insurance. Joanna, tell me how you got into the insurance slash Medicare business. I am so excited to have Joanna on the show with me today. And for the listeners, this is our very first episode where Joanna and Kathy talk insurance. You are going to get so much value. Joanna is what I consider to be one of the top influencers in the Medicare market. Joanna, tell me how you got into the insurance slash Medicare business.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I got into the insurance business by a fluke. I was working for Social Security Administration full time. I had finished my master's degree by going to school after work for 4 years. And I thought that that master's degree in project management would get me a promotion. Nobody was letting me get a promotion over there. They was getting blocked and everything. And I had a lot of free time on my hands now. I was suddenly free on nights and weekends and didn't, you know, know what to do. Um, Suddenly this guy met me on Facebook and he's like, do you know anybody who's looking for part-time work? And I said, yeah, my disabled sister who I just moved in with me. And she ended up going right back to New York, where we're from. And he's like, well, what about you? Couldn't you use an extra $1,000 on a Saturday to pay off Sally Mae? I said, talking about paying off Sally Mae, that's about right. Because I had incurred about $35,000 in student loans to get my master's because I thought it was going to be worth it, right? And I don't regret my degree. My master's in project management is why I'm successful. Um, but so I started with them and it was hard. I came
No,
from the
wait,
military.
what was it? Started with them. Who's them?
Oh, so it was a company that focused more on recruiting than selling. I don't, it was NAA, they call themselves the Alliance. And it was kind of like an MLM, I felt.
So was it
Um,
insurance or
it
what
was
was it?
insurance. Yep, it was an insurance focused. They were focused on mortgage protection and final expense. That was their only two products at the time, and a little bit of annuities. And they wanted you to recruit like before you were even licensed.
Oh,
And
wait. This sounds like A.L. Williams.
very
Do you remember
similar.
back in the day? For those of you that are younger, you don't even know who that is, but A.L. Williams is like they've changed their name. I can't remember what the name is now.
Primerica?
Yes, Primerica, and their main thing was they were and probably still are the MLM of insurance. So this was a similar company?
Yeah, probably a little bit above because they believed in having different companies like Mutual Omaha and Foresters and stuff. They used regular companies that I still use today, but you only got paid at about half of what Street is. Yeah, but you don't know what you don't know. This is the bad thing about insurance, Kathy. You only know the limited amount of information that someone's willing to share with you or that you have time to Google. And if you don't think to Google that answer, and even when you Google an answer, you might get 30 people's opinions because people don't know what they don't know. Like, and today somebody shared on my post on my Facebook page that I had said we were in cults back then and it resonated with her and she decided I actually am in a cult. Anyways, um, that
Wait a
was a
minute.
long
Why did she say it was a cult and why do you say it was a cult?
companies like that don't want you to associate with agents outside of them. They don't want you to talk about how much you're getting paid and being shown what full street is. They don't want you to know what they're getting paid. I found out that Andy Albright was getting like 170% of annual premium, and I was at 55%.
What?
So he was making more than me on what my work, and I was buying the leads from him, and he was reselling the leads.
No, wait
Like,
a minute. Wait a minute. So let me
mhm,
get this straight. So
yes,
you were not an employee, you were an
no,
independent contractor,
yes,
and you were making a sale.
hmm,
And so for the listener, if you're not familiar with insurance, we have something called an upline.
yeah,
And that upline, which is funny because it's like
an
multi-level
MLM.
marketing,
Mhm.
but that's not really. I don't wanna say that's how it works because it only goes down one level usually, right? It's just the person who's supposed to be training you. So, you're saying that the person who was supposed to be training you was selling you leads, not giving them to you, but selling them to you, and on top of that, was making more money per sale than what you were making, and you were not getting a salary. Is that what
That's
you were trying to
correct.
tell me?
Yes.
That is cray cray. I am
Cray
so
cray.
sorry.
Well,
That is awful.
it's cray cray. Now, the good thing, Kathy, is while I was there, I had a full time job. Now, they were pressuring me to quit my $80,000 a year job, but I was not successful in sales because I didn't know how to sell. I didn't come from sales. I couldn't get a ride along. I was saying, "Hey, can I take off of work to shadow you?" And they said, "No." And
What? They
crazy.
wouldn't were they selling? Maybe they weren't selling. They were making all of their money off of their agents selling. Do you think that's what was
Mm,
going on?
possibly, or I mean, sometimes they treat the downline like their own competition, you know. And I couldn't even buy leads in where I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I had to buy leads in Gadsden, Alabama, and drive 2 hours, you know,
Why?
because they only gave the leads here to the top producers. The brand new A leads went to the people who were already making a lot of money, so they could continue to make more money. Does that make sense?
Now, were they located in Atlanta?
No, they were actually located in North Carolina.
Okay, but why couldn't you get the same kind of leads that you were driving for in your location? Like, I don't understand why they wouldn't let you buy
So
those leads.
So new leads, they called them A leads, brand new fresh leads. They were only offered to agents who had standing orders for leads that were given to the top producers. I obviously couldn't make at that time. They wanted you to purchase like $1,000 a week in leads, and I was brand
Oh,
new. I
wow,
was
that's a
part time.
lot.
Yeah, I was brand new. I was part time. You haven't told me how to sell yet. So we were buying what they call recycle leads. Like they
Oh,
would
the leads that they've already been called like 400 times by other agents and they get mad when you call them.
Exactly. So what they did was, and this is how you know you work for this type of company, they would take that lead, that brand new lead, and 5 weeks later they would resell it, and then 5 weeks later they would resell it. Now, Kathy, if you buy a lead for $35, would you be mad if somebody kept reselling it? Because that you just paid $35. That should be your lead forever, right?
But those are all exclusive leads, like, they're not being sold to 15 or 20 people, or what happens is people come in and they read about you, and they're, like, writing directly to you. They're not just filling out a form for some random person. But, yeah, Joanna, that would have made me so mad if I had paid $35 for a lead because that's almost the lead price of an exclusive lead
I,
price. So they were selling what do we call those? Used leads? I forget. What are they called? Aged leads. They were selling you aged leads for almost the same price as an exclusive lead.
exactly.
Wow. Oh my gosh. How long did it take you to find out that you were getting ripped off?
Wasn't the brightest tool in the shed. I stuck it out for 2 years, you know. And how they get you is the relationships. They try to make you feel like you're part of a movement, like you're part of a family,
A
uh,
cult.
a cult. So the meeting, they wanted to meet every Thursday evening for an opportunity meeting slash training, and the training was only about 5 minutes from my office at Social Security. So I would leave work, you know, I would drive over to the hotel meeting area, and I would sit there and try to call these leads before the meeting started. And you know, my upline, he would come in, say hi to me, and then he would keep moving. He wouldn't even sit down and help me try to dial, and that was my biggest struggle, you know. Now here's the thing, Kathy. Today we know that I could have hired an appointment setter, right?
Absolutely.
Had somebody said, "Hey, Joanna, you have a full time job. Let's hire you an appointment setter to call these leads on Thursdays and Fridays while you're at work, so you can just show up on Saturday and sell." That would have probably helped me sell immediately. But nobody told me that that was an option, and I don't think they knew it was an option. And I think that they were trying to discourage that because remember, the more leads you buy, you're the product, you're the consumer now. So companies that sell leads, if they don't care about your success, you're now their consumer, and they don't care if you ever close that sale, right? You just bought $1,000 worth of leads.
Now they were buying the leads themselves, right? They
No,
weren't
they own
creating
their
the
mail
leads?
house. They owned their own mail house.
What?
Mhm,
So, basically, it sounds to me like their business model was to get agents to come in and they would become their downline.
mhm,
They had 2 streams of income. One is
mhm,
they were making more money than the agents were when the things closed, and the second
mhm.
was, of course, the leads.
Exactly.
So and they weren't encouraging you to get leads any other way, just to buy
No,
them.
they did not want they didn't encourage you to network, they didn't encourage you to do it any other way, and then when I told them, so 2 years in, no, maybe a year and a half in, this lady told me that I should sell Medicare. And I said, Medicare? I didn't know you could sell Medicare. And she's like, yeah, I set up a sign on she was doing durable medical shoes at the time, diabetic shoes. And I think that's a brilliant idea. And she's like, I set up a diabetic shoe table at like a health fair and I put a ask me about Medicare sign on it. And I get about 4 sales on a Saturday. And I said, sign me up.
Oh my gosh, so how did you meet this person?
She was going to these opportunity meetings to sell life insurance.
Oh, just like you were.
Hmm, hmm.
So, did she know that she was being ripped off because she was selling Medicare probably through a different,
I
upline?
don't think she knew. I
Okay.
don't think she knew. Um, Now, when I signed up for Medicare under her, I thought she was going to be my upline. But Medicare is completely different. And Medicare, there's about 4 levels. There's street or there's captive, and then above street there's training levels, right? So they couldn't do the MLM style um, on Medicare until they figured it out later. But they didn't. This company didn't want to have anything to do with Medicare. They said, "Oh, you go get your little $20. There's no
Good.
money. There's no money in Medicare." Yeah, good. The company she signed me up with, her upline, they were contract houses though. They didn't do any training, so I struggled.
Oh.
That's how I became so, I would say, popular influencer, like you said, because I was in these Facebook groups trying to find answers. I was making friends with people like you, and I was sprinkling my questions, trying not to offend anybody, right? And about a year later, I met one of my mentors, Joe Tritola, and he had created his own Facebook group that was supposed to be consumer facing. But he's like, "Hey, I don't really know how to do this Facebook thing, and you seem pretty good at it." Because I was, I still am. I'm an admin of the world's largest veteran Facebook group. Um, it's called Veteran Two Veteran Info, and they have 730,000 veterans in there. And
Wow.
hmm
That's
and
amazing.
yep. And so Joe's like, "Hey, you want to help me, moderate this group because you know how to Facebook?" And I was like, "Okay." I was the rookie, he was the seasoned person, right? And I used to do this thing called the rookie report. But I was reteaching what I learned because I remember the struggle, right? I remember everybody was gatekeeping information. Originally, I didn't know how to do a presentation for a good 4 months because I
Oh
had to
my
go to,
gosh.
yeah,
Now,
yep.
this was in your old upline, not in the Medicare, or was
No,
it in
this
the
was in
Medicare?
Medicare too. My Medicare journey was
Wow.
not easy. Mhm.
Well, at
Um,
least you knew a little bit about Medicare because you came from Social Security.
so I knew of the entire federal side. I knew the extra help for Part D. I knew the IRMA. I knew the Medicare entitlements, and then also the QMB piece. I also knew. I didn't know the sales part. I didn't know the commercial part. Right.
Right.
Um, the compliance pieces. Right. And there's a lot. Um, so with all my frustration of like everybody's gatekeeping this information, this seems like nobody was really wanting to train. And so I would start every time, and it goes back to my Air Force roots. In the Air Force, if you were a day ahead of somebody in your training, you were now their trainer.
Well, you can teach people stuff that you know and they don't.
Yeah,
I do it in art.
yeah,
I'm not like a famous artist or anything, but I teach people what I know in the art world. So yeah, I
exactly.
get it.
Yep. And so that's like, if I had just learned something, I was like, okay, now Kathy, this is what I just learned. So this is, this is what I just learned. It could probably help you, right? Um, and so that's how my influencer journey began. It was all unintentional. I never imagined on being anybody's mentor. It was not in my business plan. I just wanted to sell some Medicare to pay off my Sally Mae. And I didn't even plan on quitting the government. I just wanted some extra play money, because the lifestyle. I mean, especially with inflation, 80,000 was really not all that much now. It's really not, especially when your rent or mortgage is $2,000 a month. It's just not. And so
But yeah, so you paid for your own table. Did you find out about it through your upline or did you find out about it through somewhere else?
I found out about it through Facebook. I saw this other IMO who said that they had a Walmart opportunity, and I was currently trying to leave the IMO that I was under that wasn't training. And I was like, well, this is a great opportunity because how else am I supposed to get in front of people? Getting in front of people is 99% of a Medicare agent's problem. Most insurance agents' problem, right? Especially with the compliance. And so I moved several of my contracts to them to be able to participate under their wings. They were probably not set up for rookies at the time, especially people who were working part time at nights and on the weekends. Taking on a new agent who's part time, nights and weekends,
It's
Kathy, I
not
mean,
profitable for them.
it's probably not. And like, even now I have to really think hard if I want to answer a text message at 8 o'clock at night, or if I want to answer a text message on Sunday morning. It's a very hard business decision for people like you and me. They have to really have the gung ho when I take on a part time agent who's going to be communicating with me nights and weekends, right?
Well, you and I
Um,
are gonna have to talk about that. So we'll have to get you a little bit more systematized. But anyway, so roll me sort of okay, you've started your Medicare journey.
Mhm,
You're at Walmart.
mhm.
How did that first what was that your 2nd year, your 3rd year? Like, when
That
you were
was
at
my
that
second
Walmart
year. Now, my
okay.
first year was dismal. My first year, I was certified for IEP. That was November 2017. I made a whopping 2 sales.
Wow.
Now, my very first customer for Medicare was referred to me by my best friend in life insurance, who went to her church, and she had premium A, which means that she was paying about $445 at the time for her Part A because she did not have 40 credits, and she wasn't married to anybody for 10 years to get their 40 credits. And then she was paying high IRMA, the highest level of IRMA, because she had a trust fund. And then she was taking distributions, right? So she was paying the most for her Part A, B, and D. And somebody had sold her a prescription plan, or she sold it to herself. Nobody sold her a Medicare supplement, and nobody sold her a Medicare Advantage. So
Oh,
you see,
no.
so she had a 20% exposure that was uncapped. And this is the problem in Medicare. So I meet her, and Kathy, this is a really sad story. I meet her, and I find out that she has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
Oh, no. So she can't get a supplement plan.
So she couldn't get a supplement plan, and her time was limited on Earth.
Mm.
Um, she ended up passing away January 22nd, 2018. So
I'm
her plan
so
wasn't even
sorry.
effective an entire month. Yeah. So her best friend was sitting next to her, helping her decide. And she was my second client. And she said, I was even trying to sell her. She's like, no, I want one of these plans because I want silver sneakers. And she had already had she had what they call federal health insurance from her deceased
Oh.
husband, so she was in a good spot. And I didn't even know at the time if you could have FIBA plus a Medicare Advantage plan, because I had nobody to call. I was a rookie under a company that never answered the phone, right? Anyway, so she's still on the books today. But my very first client was also my very first death.
Oh,
um,
and you probably didn't get paid for that client either
I
because
got
she didn't
charged
stay on the
back.
books
Yeah.
for 3 months. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
and
wasn't.
That's the trouble when I mean, I help people all the time that are very sick
Mhm.
with the expectation I'm not gonna get paid,
Mhm. So
and
many times we do that. So many times we help people. And I knew that I wasn't going to get paid on her, but it was the right thing to do. And her son ended up calling me after she died, and he said, "I found your business card in my mom's documents, and I just want to thank you because the company that I put her with was Aetna. The Aetna PPO ended up paying all of her final bills."